Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Briarpatch. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, that opening when Lucretia's looking for the cat, I was like, I completely forgot about that storyline. Because we haven't circled back to the missing cat since, wasn't that episode 2's intro? What's the whole situation with the cat? I think so, or was that the end of episode 1? I don't remember. I want to say that was the beginning of episode 2. I can't remember. A lot of my minds blurred together. But I was like, we haven't dealt with that since the beginning of the season. So to see that kind of get brought back is really interesting. But basically, while she's looking up all those posters, she walks by Harold. And I kept being like, because this is the second time Harold kind of gave her the look like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, is there something going on there? And she's kind of looking disgusted when she looks at him. I'm like, what the fuck is that all about? But then, we hear in our headphones, because it's like, oh, the music is playing and stuff like that, but that's not what she's listening to. She's listening to Felicity and Gina. I was like, oh, and then immediately I was like, the fact that you had that means Harold hooked you up with that. So I was like, did he make a copy when Floyd got one? We'll kind of circle back to that. We'll soon enough. I'll go ahead and talk about it. It's interesting because we end up finding out, kind of showing you that Harold, the fact is that he had two different people spying on Felicity for different reasons. The fact of the matter is, showed you what kind of criminal Harold is. He's very kind of suggesting that there might be other people he's listening, but regardless, there's so much going down. Fact of the matter is, Allegra is meeting with Cyrus, but he's talking to Eve because they're setting up the whole we want to have security and cops around, while Ramirez is in town. It is interesting that he's making such a point to stop there. I'm wondering, is it just because, it's a necessary spot for his race for senator? Or is it more so because, he's already senator, but I think he's trying to get reelected. Wasn't that the whole thing? Whatever the case may be, it's during the whole election, so he needs to pick this particular space, or is it more so because of Allegra? Or, it's Allegra, but more so than anything, there's other elements like Spivey and Brattle are in town, so that's kind of another angle to it. Because Cyrus even brings it up that basically Ramirez decided, hey, I'm going to kind of do things a little, get my hands dirty and kind of get into the fold myself. But what's interesting is that Eve is basically doing all this. She's setting all this up, with the police and everything, and kind of wanted to make an impression because she wants Ramirez to back her for mayor. But then Cyrus is like, oh, you don't want to be mayor. You want to be the ex-mayor, and blah, 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 blah. Basically saying your ambitions go beyond that. And he's like, oh, but basically you have Eve kind of going backdoor dealings like that is what I'm going to try and stop. And he's like, oh, look at this radiance of yours. It's like, oh, what was it? Your valor or your virtue or something like that. Could be, while I'm basically 3,000 miles into the air, or feet in the air, probably miles in the air. And the fact of the matter is I'm drinking my drink and stuff like that. I'm going to look down because I'm almost going to see your virtue because it's so bright. Almost being, I don't know. You want to punch Cyrus sometimes because he seems like such an evil, condescending prick. Just how I feel. And the fact is, Allegra was he's like, yeah, you're going to set up that deal, sit down with Brattle. And she's like, what? You mean Brattle, the same dude that was going to burn down a factory to burn people alive? He killed a friend of mine. But it's Cyrus, it's you're getting too caught up in this. It's like you want us to meet with Spivey, but no. Fact of the matter is, saying Spivey and Brattle, they're all both chess pieces. They're pieces to further, the game. It's Ramirez's game and stuff like that. So it's set up the meeting with Brattle and stuff like that. And so it turns into a situation of, I love that whole thing between her and AD. And it's oh, you ready? Because it's we have to look into why Eve, wanted to besmirch Felicity's name like that. It didn't make any sense. Now she's using it as an opportunity to ride straight towards being mayor. It's for what purposes? And, she's like, you got my back on this? And AD's like, are you asking me as your lawyer or? And he kind of raises his eyebrows and she's kind of smiling. And it's or what? He's like, whatever that was last night between us. So I was like, oh, that's sweet. But then sadly, it's they go over to Harold's. And basically, they're hiring Harold to look into Eve for them. And she leaves AD there. It's oh, she's joking. And she's like, good luck. And he's like, what? He's like, that's messed up. She's just going straight. I think it's also because, we're supposed to be in this together. Plus what happened, we're supposed to kind of stick together. And you kind of leave me with Harold. Okay. I even love him being oh, come on, Murtaugh. I was like, hey, Lethal Weapon reference. I did love later on when it was all said and done when they set everything up at Eve's place. And it's like, oh yeah, basically by having that device he called, what was it, a pineapple? Basically, it will copy all the like her passwords and stuff like that on her Wi-Fi network, making it so you can basically get all the information. And then you have AD being like, "Nah, that's scary," and he's like, "Yeah, it really is." And then he's just kind of like, "Oh, we could always go back to my place and wait for a little bit." He's like, "Nah, just hit me up when it's all said and done." He's like, "Come on, I mean, you don't have to call me Harry. Call me Riggs. I thought we were in on the bit." And I was like, "Hey," but nevertheless. I was kind of bummed when you see Allegra hooking up with the Senator, Ramirez, and I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, something between you and AD, but it's like old habits kind of die hard because even Cyrus was like, yeah, the fact is, Ramirez is going to be here with his wife, so you probably need to pick a different place to be, and it's like, okay. So despite all that, his wife literally being in town, they shack up and everything. But I guess it's just kind of old habits kind of die hard, and it's just like that familiarity, and even she admits going, yeah, like, aren't you, like, done, like, basically, aren't you kind of over this? Which he was like, no, I like this. I thought you did too. But she's like, she doesn't like this whole, I think maybe, I'm curious, is it just because she feels like it feels good in the moment, but that's all it is. It's in that moment. Like, there can never be anything real between us because you are married. It's not like you're going to leave your wife or anything. I don't even think he's even said anything about, oh, I'm going to leave my wife for you. It's just kind of like a thing of like, they're having their fun, but it's like, fun only gets you so far because she's got so much to think about. She's even suggesting the whole Spivey situation. He's like, go ahead and set Spivey up. And she's like, but Cyrus was all about the battle. It's like, Cyrus works for me. So if I decide I want to work with Spivey, because I trust your judgment, because she was like, her and Spivey kind of have history and stuff like that, So that was interesting. The fact is, kind of which to me shows that it's not even Ramirez that's really in control. It seems like Cyrus is the one that's really pulling the strings. Like Ramirez is just a means to an end because I think Cyrus is just positioning him in a position that he needs him in. So it's like, whereas Ramirez thinks he's the puppeteer, when in actuality he's just a puppet being controlled and marionated, being puppeteered. Is I was trying to say a marionette, by Cyrus. God, it took me forever to get that on. Turning the foghorn and leghorn there. I do apologize. But that's what it kind of seems like to me. Like, so. But Harold did find some interesting information about Eve, like her in dating sites and stuff like that. We end up finding out that she's a vet. So it's like, oh, she had time in the military, interestingly enough. That kind of explains some things, but we'll get to that soon enough. But more so than anything, was the fact is that Eve was looking into not only really heavily looking into Allegra, and it's like, what's that about? But she was also heavily looking into Brattle. Now, this starts kind of lining some pieces up because we know that Eve is with Spivey, and that basically this whole thing, Spivey's using Allegra, because now we know he's using Allegra to kind of make a deal with the Ramirez so that he can get immunity, so he can finally move all his money around. Because it seems like at the end of the day, he is that rich dude that wants to do good, and he wants to help the town and everything. Because apparently later on we see that he's kind of trying to build a water park. It's like, oh, people want to have fun and stuff like that. And obviously this is just kind of a means to an end for Eve, but it also would explain, I guess, because of her military experience, maybe it would have something to do with that past. Maybe she wasn't that well versed in Brattle. Maybe she was. Maybe that's why, because of this whole situation with Spivey, that she was looking into Allegra to see whether Allegra was someone that she could really, trust. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, too, it still doesn't explain why, especially working with Spivey, like why he would be, I guess not unless that's something Eve did behind his back, the whole like besmirching, throwing, Felicity under the bus, because obviously he cares about Felicity, but more so than anything, he cares about Allegra more. So maybe that's kind of the difference. I don't know. That's what I'm kind of trying to figure out, because also what did he say? I would never hurt you. I would never let anything hurt you. And that's what he kind of told Allegra, was it last episode? So that's kind of like, you would assume that if he did know about the Eve thing, of her besmirching like Felicity's name, like that wouldn't have, so although while that's going down, like you have, because obviously Allegra got pissed at AD because because at first they got invited over to Lucretia's place because Jean is like, oh, it's like, oh, things are going to change. Our luck is going to change. And she's like, oh, have you seen our cat? He's like, no, but things are going to change. It's like, oh, I'm going to come home early. So it's like Jean doesn't know that she knows about the affair and she's not letting it slip. So, but we find out what he's up to. Basically, Brattle wants him to kill Jake, but But apparently it's been something he's supposed to have been done weeks ago. I guess that's actually why he was there. Because he was probably trying to be like, no. Last episode, he was like, no. I'm with Brattle is what he was trying to say. But he couldn't do anything because Eve was there. And it's like, well, her getting killed, that would have just brought up too many damn questions. So he couldn't kill Spivey then. But home dude that works for Brattle shows up and is like, oh, the problem with what makes Spivey so dangerous is that he's so damn charming and makes friends with everyone, including Brattle. So suggesting like, oh, the fact is that you haven't killed him yet means that Brattle doesn't want him dead, because despite the differences, Brattle has a sweet spot for, Spivey, and so he kind of doesn't want him dead. Like, I guess they have like that deep history and stuff like that. But for Jean, it's like, no, I don't like the guy, so I'm going to get this done. It's like, all right, if you're going to get it done, get it done. Because if I have to kind of handle this, you're not just going to need a body for Jake. You're going to need a body bag for yourself as well, so. But Lucretia brings AD over because she wants a divorce lawyer and everything, pouring a champagne on the carpet because it's like, oh, that's his anyway. So she's trying to have fun. We kept seeing her pop pills. I'm wondering, is there kind of like a mental issue that she kind of has that she was dealing with? I don't know, because we see her from time to time like popping pills in the episode. So I don't know what that's kind of like a bipolar disorder type of situation. Might have seemed, because like, especially considering like how her emotional mood swings like so much throughout the episode, that makes me kind of think of that. Well, because what we end up finding out is like, obviously, like AD listened and found out, oh, she was spying on Felicity too. So he calls Allegra over, and Allegra, is like, ask her questions about like, oh, were you spying on my sister? She's like, yeah, I'm sorry. The fact of the matter is, everyone was talking about how nice and amazing and sweet your sister is, but it's like, if she was so sweet, why did she do this to me? Like, because even Lucretia's like, I never did anything to. Even Allegra's like, I can't give you an answer to that. Why did this happen? And now it kind of begs the question: was it all a means to an end? Was there a little affair, something actually Felicity was getting close to him because Colder Jean is connected to Brattle? Because even there's I'm getting way ahead of myself, but there's that picture when it's like, oh, they're flirting and everything like that, and Jean's so happy, but you see her kind of look away, and it almost looks like, oh God, I can't believe I got to act this whole situation. I guess she was getting close to him to figure out what the hell Brattle was up to and what his plans are for the town and everything, potentially, is what that, that seems like. But what was interesting is obviously Jean, I love the fact is that Eve went over and he's like, all right, the cops are going, I'm about ready to pop. That's why I think it's interesting, because it's like, well, I guess to be fair, you're far away in that situation with Brattle and Eve. You were that close to him, so there was, but this way you had a distant shot. So if you needed to take him and maybe Eve out, you would have, especially considering the fact is Eve is working with Spivey. I think, like I said, I think that just would have opened up too many questions, so that's why he didn't do. But at the very least, he was going to wait till Spivey came out, because even if he didn't have to kill Eve, he would have killed Spivey. But he got a text from his wife showing us like, oh, you don't need to come home, I've got company. And he comes home and it's like, oh, Allegra and AD leave. And I love that thing of like, she's feeding him the snacks and everything. He's like, oh, and the moment he's chewing him, he's like, oh, these are good. I'm like, oh, I was like, because I remember like the title of the episode, but also like what he called her. I was like, he's like, oh, what's this feeling? And I was like, is she going to say? She's like, Butterscotch. I was like, there it is. And he's like, and she's like, I love you, Butterscotch. And Jean stops. He's like, wait. He's like, were you recording me? He spit it out, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then we saw a side of Jean we've never seen. He started blowing up at her, he's like, he got vicious and nasty. I was like, and then she was like, okay, I can fix this. I was like, wait, is this an abusive relationship? That's what I started wondering, like, because Gene seems like, oh, he's so calm, cool, and collected, but it's like, he had that rage inside of him like that, because I was wondering, like, why are you so adverse to, like, because that's when I was like, oh, like, he's not asking for her forgiveness or something. He's blowing up, like, how the hell could you let someone have that means someone has recording, you bugged me, I could get you arrested and stuff like this, to jail for this. I'm like, why are you going so hard? You're the one that cheated and stuff like that. But it's like, because of the whole Brattle connection, you don't want anyone to know about you and Brattle. And it's like, because he doesn't know how long Harold might have been following him. So, but obviously Allegra goes over to Harold's place and ends up kind of investigating, and she finds like all the files, all these different flash drives showing that, oh, he worked with a shit ton of people. Once again, he is a criminal and everything, so he has plans of like he worked with everyone, and that's even something Harold said. He was basically, and I kind of felt like it was always going to end bad for Harold the moment he mentioned that line to AD, where it's like people come to me for the truth, but they don't want to know the truth, so they actually hate me. It's a thing of like I don't make this situation happen, but because I'm the bearer of bad news, I get all the hate and blame, and people hate me for it. So I'm curious what else it is, because Harold never got a chance to tell Allegra what it is that he found, because she went to the bathroom to kind of look to see what else he had when it came to this whole situation. And she found some files and stuff like that, some pictures of Jean and Felicity. So that's about it, because obviously he was following Felicity for not only Floyd, but obviously Lucretia as well. But then he answers the door and gets shot. I was like, did Jean do that or did Lucretia? I was like, no, I'm thinking Jean might. Nope, turned out it super was Lucretia. And, you know, Jean's kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe it really was her and stuff like that. I was like, you cold-hearted bastard. You literally put her up there. He's like, I never thought she was capable of it. It's like, you heartless bastard. And then he's fixing coffee and he sees the evidence bag, and so he goes over there, he grabs one of the evidence bags and it's got the flash drives, and he finds the one about him, and he sees the pictures of him with Brattle's guy, and he gets rid of the flash drive. So it's like, holy shit. Once again, so now that, like I said, it brings up so many questions. Like, the fact is, it seems like Lucretia was just very naturally unstable, but it's just, she seems like she was a good person. At the end of the day, she was just a woman who was cheated on by her husband and kind of fell apart because of it. But it's like, she's, like I said, it seems like she's so desperate for his love and attention. Like, the moment it's like, oh, she's the one that was in the right, he's the cheater, but he got scary. That's what makes me think, like, is there something there? Like I said, it was an abusive situation to the point, but maybe it's because of like her, you know, potential bipolar disorder, that maybe that kind of led to her being so easily swayed to be like, no, I need your forgiveness, I'm gonna fix this, I love you, Jean, type of situation, despite, you know, like it just seemed the mood switch was just kind of whoa. And it was interesting too, because the person who comes to visit Allegra is Cyrus, and Cyrus is like, oh, you got what you get. And it's like, oh, this room reminds me of when I saved you, what was it, 10 years ago? She was like 12, and it's like, right. And basically it's like, you were able to get that meeting with Spivey and Ramirez. Oh, that's so good. Basically, you disobeyed me. Okay, I never expected that, but you're not going to disobey me again, because next time you'll find yourself back in a situation like this. And once again, Cyrus, bit of a prick. This is extreme prick, where we've seen dark side of Cyrus of like, don't cross me again. But now for Allegra, she feels like this is the only move I can make. So she goes to Spivey about like, okay, you have your plans and everything. I said it, the meeting with Ramirez, and Spivey's so happy. He's like, yeah, but she's like, you need to make this count. He's like, don't worry. She's like, no, I need you to focus. Look at me. I need you to make this count, because at the end of the day for her, it's just her and Jake. And Jake is like, oh, it's just you and me, right? Now, I'm wondering how that could be, because to me, she has AD on her side, but what did Jake have on his side? He has Eve. So I'm wondering, is he going to use this as an opportunity to cut Eve out of it? So whatever benefit she might be getting from this, he's cutting ties with her, because it's like, oh, we in this together, we're in this together, Allegra. Granted, who knows? The fact is, we already have Jean with a gun set on you, but even if Jean isn't one who's able to pull the trigger, he's got a limited amount of time before he ends up getting caught in the crosshairs too. But Brattle wants him dead, but at the same time, Brattle kind of doesn't want him dead. So now unless that ends up being a situation where Brattle hands personally, but to be fair, he gets in the mix, but he never does the actual dirty work himself, hence why Jean's here in the first place. So another angle to this is like, obviously, like you had Eve meeting with the Staghorns, but the Staghorn Senior is makes it pretty damn clear, like basically you don't have the job unless we want you to have the job. And it's like, it's not a situation of kind of getting like permission, like you're only in the position of being mayor because we want you to in that position. That basically, because even Cyrus was saying that him and Ramirez are backing Tony, the current mayor, and everything. So I'm like, and the Staghorns had their reasoning for why they're doing what they're doing. So Eve's not things aren't going the way Eve wants them to on her front. So complicated mess all over the place. So I'm curious to kind of see where all this kind of takes us going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good